The text message from my mother lit up my phone screen. Family meeting, tonight, 7 p.m. sharp, non-negotiable. My stomach dropped as I stared at those words, knowing exactly what they meant. Ethan had screwed up again, and I was about to become the family ATM. I'm Robin, and at 28, I've built a life that most would envy. Executive position at a tech firm, my own apartment in the city, and enough savings to feel secure. But none of that matters when you're the least favorite child of Veronica Wagner. Another emergency meeting? Luca asked, peering over my cubicle wall. His concerned expression told me he remembered the last 3 family emergencies all too well. You know my mother, I said, gathering my things. Everything's an emergency when it comes to Ethan. The drive to my childhood home felt longer than usual. Each traffic light gave me another moment to remember how these meetings usually went. Last time, it was Ethan's failed restaurant venture. Before that, his investment opportunity in crypto. Every time Mom found a way to make his problems my responsibility. I pulled into the driveway, noting Ethan's new BMW parked next to Mom's Mercedes. Funny how he always had money for luxury cars, but never for his debts. Robin, finally! Mom rushed to the door, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the frame. We've been waiting. No, hello, no, how are you? Classic Veronica. The living room looked exactly as it always had. Family photos dominated the walls, mostly of Ethan's achievements. My college graduation photo was tucked away in a corner, barely visible behind a vase. Ethan sat on the couch, head in his hands. Hey, sis, he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. Let's cut to the chase, Mom said, sitting primly on her favorite armchair. Your brother is in a bit of financial trouble. A bit? I interrupted, earning a sharp look. How much this time? 250,000, Ethan whispered. The room went silent. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're joking, right? This is serious, Robin, Mom snapped. Your brother made some unfortunate betting decisions. Gambling. Call it what it is, Mom. He was gambling. The important thing is, she continued as if I hadn't spoken, we need to help him, as a family. I crossed my arms. And by we, you mean me. Well, you're the only one with the means right now, she said, her voice taking on that guilt-inducing tone I knew too well. You're doing so well in your career, and family helps family. What about your savings, your retirement fund? Mom's face hardened. Already gone, helping your brother through his previous situation? And my inheritance from Dad? I asked, already knowing the answer. Ethan finally looked up, his face red. Mom used it to cover the restaurant debts. My inheritance, not yours, mine. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. The money Dad specifically left for my future? Robin, dear, Mom leaned forward. You have to understand. Ethan needed it more at the time. And now, well, we need your help again. Your entire salary for the next 2 years should cover it. The audacity of her demand hit me like a physical blow. 2 years of my life, my hard work, my independence, all to enable my brother's addiction and my mother's enabling. No, I said, standing up. What do you mean, no? Mom's voice rose. This is your brother we're talking about. Do you want to see him hurt by loan sharks? Do you want his life destroyed? His life? I laughed again, bitter and cold. What about my life, Mom? When has anyone in this family ever worried about destroying my life? Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? You want 2 years of my salary to fix his gambling addiction, and I'm being dramatic? Ethan stood up, reaching for my arm. Sis, please, I promise this is the last time. I jerked away from his touch. That's what you said about the restaurant, and the crypto, and the sports betting last year. Robin Wagner. Mom's voice took on that authoritative tone that used to make me fold instantly. This is what family does. We help each other. I looked around the room, at my mother's stern face, at Ethan's desperate eyes, at all the photos celebrating his achievements while minimizing mine. Something inside me snapped. But instead of anger, I felt an odd sense of calm. You're right, Mom, I said, my voice eerily steady. Family does help family, and I think it's time we had a proper discussion about exactly how our family helps each other. The smile that spread across my face must have worried them because both Mom and Ethan shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had no idea what was coming, but they were about to learn that the daughter they'd always underestimated had been playing a much longer game than they realized. You did what? Luca nearly spat out his coffee across his desk the next morning. 2 years of salary? Is she insane? I stirred my own coffee, watching the cream create perfect swirls. That's not even the craziest part. Want to know what she said when I mentioned my inheritance? The one your dad left specifically for you? She actually said, that money was put to better use helping your brother's future. I mimicked my mother's condescending tone, as if my future meant nothing. Luca leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. So, what's your play here? Please tell me you're not actually considering giving them the money. A small smile crept across my face. Remember that advice you gave me 3 years ago? About protecting my assets? When you first started making real money? He sat up straighter. Don't tell me you actually did it? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Every joint venture Ethan started, every investment opportunity he brought to the family, I was there, quietly becoming a silent partner. Mom was so focused on him, she never bothered to read the fine print. Holy shit, Robin. I own 30% of that failed restaurant, 40% of his crypto investment company. And the best part? I slid my phone across the desk. I'm the majority shareholder in his current business ventures. Luca's eyes widened as he scrolled through the documents. This is brilliant and terrifying. Does anyone know? Just my Aunt Martina. She helped me set it all up. I took my phone back, tucking it safely away. She's the only one who ever saw Ethan for what he really is. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. We need to discuss this further. Dinner tonight? Look at this. I showed Luca the message. She's not giving up. Are you going? Oh, I'm going, but not for the reason she thinks. I stood up, straightening my blazer. I have a meeting with my financial advisor in an hour. Want to hear something funny? I've been making more money from Ethan's failed ventures than he has. How's that possible? Because I actually read contracts and I understand business. I gathered my things. Every time he got a bailout from Mom, my shares increased in value. Every time he needed family help, I made sure my name was on the paperwork. Luca grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Robin, be careful. This kind of revenge, it could blow up in your face. It's not revenge, I said, but we both knew that wasn't entirely true. It's protection, and maybe a little karma. Later that afternoon, I sat in my financial advisor's office, reviewing the documents one last time. Everything's in order, she confirmed. You have controlling interest in all three companies. Mr. Wagner can't make any major financial decisions without your approval. And the new business loan he applied for yesterday? She smiled. Denied. As per your instructions, any new funding requires your signature. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ethan. Mom's really worried. Please come to dinner. We can work something out. I texted back. I'll be there. 7 p.m. Before heading to my parents' house, I made one more stop. Aunt Martina's cozy apartment always felt more like home than my mother's pristine mansion. You're really going through with this? She asked, handing me a cup of tea. They left me no choice. I said, taking a sip. Did you know Mom used my inheritance to cover his gambling debts? Martina's face darkened. Your father would be furious. That money was meant for your future, not Ethan's mistakes. Well, Dad's not here, I said, fighting back tears. But I am, and I'm done being the family backup plan. Your mother won't take this well, Martina warned. She's always protected Ethan, even when she shouldn't have. That's exactly why I had to do this. I stood up, checking the time. Someone has to show them that actions have consequences. Martina hugged me tightly. You're stronger than both of them combined, sweetheart. Give them hell. As I drove to my mother's house for the second time in 2 days, I thought about all the times I'd given in, all the times I'd played the dutiful daughter. The documents in my briefcase felt heavy with possibility. Tonight, everything would change. I parked behind Ethan's BMW again, noting the repo notice tucked under his windshield wiper. Right on schedule. Mom opened the door before I could knock, her smile strained. Robin, darling, I'm so glad you came to your senses. Actually, Mom, I cut her off, holding up my briefcase. I think it's time we reviewed some paperwork. All of us. The look of confusion on her face was just the beginning. By the end of tonight, they'd understand exactly who they'd been underestimating all these years. I spread the documents across the dining room table, the same table where Mom used to help Ethan with his homework while sending me to study alone in my room. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. What's all this? Mom asked, her perfectly plucked eyebrows drawing together as she scanned the papers. Remember Ethan's restaurant, the Golden Spoon? I pulled out the first set of documents, the one that failed spectacularly last year. Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his chair. What about it? Well, let's start with who actually owns it. I slid the partnership agreement across the table. You see this signature here? That's mine. 30% ownership. Mom snatched up the paper. That's impossible. Ethan handled all the paperwork. Did he? I smiled. Or did he just sign whatever was put in front of him, like always? You tricked me? Ethan's face flushed red. No, dear brother. I invested in you, just like family does. I pulled out another document. And here's the crypto investment company. 40% ownership. Ring any bells? Mom's hands were shaking as she reached for the papers. This can't be legal. Oh, it's completely legal. Every signature, every document, every transaction, all perfectly legitimate. I just made sure my name was on everything while you were both so busy throwing good money after bad. But, but where did you get the money to invest? Ethan stammered. Unlike you, I saved, I worked, and I watched. I leaned forward. Every time Mom bailed you out, my shares increased in value. Every time you needed family help, I made sure I was legally protected. You manipulative little, Mom started, but I cut her off. Careful, Mom, you haven't seen the best part yet. I pulled out the final document, the crown jewel of my collection. This is Ethan's current business portfolio. Notice anything interesting about the ownership structure? Their eyes scanned the document, and I watched as realization dawned on their faces. 51%? Ethan whispered. You own 51% of my companies? Controlling interest? I corrected, which means no more loans, no more bailouts, no more gambling with family money without my approval. Mom stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. You planned this, all of it. You've been planning this for years. 3 years to be exact. Since the day you took my inheritance, money Dad left specifically for me and used it to cover Ethan's gambling debts. We needed that money, Ethan protested. No, you wanted that money. There's a difference. I gathered the documents back into my briefcase. And now about that 2-year salary demand. You heartless girl, Mom spat. Your brother needs help. Yes, he does. Real help. Not enablers who throw money at his addiction. I turned to Ethan. You want to know what happens next? You're going to rehab, real rehab, not that weekend retreat spa Mom sent you to last time. You can't make me. Actually, I can. As majority shareholder, I can have you removed from all company operations if you're deemed unfit to serve. Your choice, rehab or unemployment. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom sank back into her chair, her perfectly maintained facade crumbling. What do you want? She finally asked, her voice small. I want what I've always wanted, respect, recognition, and my inheritance back. I stood up. You have 24 hours to transfer the remaining funds back to my account. Every penny you took. That money's gone, Ethan said quietly. Then you'll take out a loan to repay it. Both of you. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Ethan? That repo notice on your BMW? That's real. Maybe start with a more practical car next time. You're destroying this family, Mom called after me. I paused at the door. No, Mom, you did that years ago. I'm just making sure I don't go down with the ship. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Martina. How did it go? I typed back, Phase 1 complete. They know. Another buzz. Proud of you, sweetheart. Your dad would be too. Sitting in my car, I watched through the window as Mom and Ethan argued, their gestures becoming more animated by the second. For the first time in years, I felt light, free from the weight of their expectations and manipulations. My phone buzzed one more time. Luca, you okay? Better than okay, I replied. But tomorrow's gonna be interesting. Because tomorrow, when they realized I'd frozen all of Ethan's business accounts pending a full audit, the real fireworks would begin. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and I was more than happy to assist. The calls started at 6 a.m. First Mom, then Ethan, then Mom again. By the time I reached my office, I had 27 missed calls and 43 text messages. Your brother can't access any of his accounts. Mom's voice screeched through my phone when I finally answered. This is ridiculous, Robin. Stop this childish behavior immediately. Childish? I kept my voice level, like gambling away hundreds of thousands of dollars? Or maybe like stealing your daughter's inheritance? We need to meet, now. I'm busy, I said, watching Luca wave frantically from my office doorway. I have a meeting with the auditors in 10 minutes. Auditors? Her voice went up an octave. What auditors? The ones reviewing all of Ethan's business transactions for the past 3 years. Standard procedure when there's suspected financial mismanagement. The line went dead. I looked up at Luca, who was practically bouncing with news. You're not going to believe this, he said, closing my office door. The auditors found something big, really big. Before he could continue, my office phone rang. The front desk. Ms. Robin, your brother is here. He's quite insistent about seeing you. I could hear Ethan's raised voice in the background. Tell him I'll be down in 5 minutes. Luca grabbed my arm. You need to see this first. He handed me a folder. Your brother wasn't just gambling with his own money. The documents inside made my blood run cold. Bank transfers, forged signatures, shell companies, all leading back to one thing. Ethan had been embezzling from his own businesses. He was using company funds to gamble? I whispered. Worse, he was using them to pay off other gambling debts, then gambling with the profits to try to cover the holes. Luca tapped the papers. This is federal crime territory. The elevator dinged, and Ethan burst through the office doors, his face red with anger. What the hell are you doing to me? Funny, I said, holding up the folder. I was about to ask you the same thing. His face went from red to white in seconds. Where did you get those? The auditors work fast when they find evidence of fraud. I stood up, matching his intensity. Want to explain why your signature and mom's appear on documents neither of you were authorized to sign? You don't understand, he stammered. I was going to pay it back. I just needed one big win. Get out of my office, I cut him off. Go home, talk to mom, and for God's sake, get a lawyer. You wouldn't, he whispered. We're family. Family? I laughed. Was it family when you forged my signature to access business accounts? Was it family when you and Mom stole my inheritance? Please, Robin, his voice cracked. They'll put me in jail. Maybe that's where you need to be. I pressed the security button under my desk. You have 24 hours to come clean to Mom about everything. After that, the auditor's report goes to the FBI. As security led him away, my phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Martina. Your mother just called me, hysterical. What happened? Ethan's been embezzling, I typed back. It's worse than we thought. Her response was immediate. Come over after work. You need to hear something. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and phone calls. My mother left 17 more voicemails, each more desperate than the last. By the time I reached Aunt Martina's apartment, I was emotionally exhausted. Sit down, she said as soon as I walked in. There's something you need to know about your inheritance. She pulled out an old envelope from her desk drawer. Your father left this with me before he died. I was supposed to give it to you if things ever got complicated. Inside was a letter and another set of documents. As I read, my hands started shaking. Dad knew? I looked up at Martina. He knew Mom was taking money from my accounts even before he died? Martina nodded. That's why he set up the secret trust in your name. The inheritance your mother thought she took? That was just the surface. The real money has been growing in a separate account all this time. I stared at the bank statements. The numbers made me dizzy. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Your father made me promise to wait until you were ready, until you showed you could stand up to them on your own. She smiled sadly. I'd say that time is now. My phone buzzed again. Mom. We need to talk. Your brother told me everything. Please come home. I showed the message to Martina, who squeezed my hand. Go. Show them who you really are. Show them what Robert's daughter is made of. I stood up, clutching my father's letter. They're not going to like what comes next. No, Martina agreed, but they're going to respect it. The house was dark except for the dining room light when I arrived. Mom sat at the head of the table, her usual perfect posture replaced by a defeated slump. Ethan paced behind her, running his hands through his disheveled hair. Sit down, Mom said quietly. No demands, no accusations, just exhaustion. I placed Dad's letter on the table between us. Before we start, read this. Mom's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Her face grew paler with each line she read. Robert knew, she whispered. All this time? Dad knew everything, I said, watching her crumple in on herself. The money you took from my college fund when I was 16, the loans you made from my accounts during college, he tracked every penny. Ethan stopped pacing. What's she talking about, Mom? Your mother has been stealing from me since before Dad died, I explained. That's why he set up the secret trust fund, the one she couldn't touch. I did it for you, Mom suddenly burst out, slamming her hands on the table. Everything I did was to give you opportunities, Ethan. By stealing from me? I kept my voice steady. By taking everything Dad left for my future? You were always so capable, so independent, she said, as if that justified everything. Ethan needed more support. Stop. Ethan's voice cracked. Just stop, Mom. He turned to me. How bad is it? The audit? I pulled out my tablet and pulled up the preliminary findings. 3 million in embezzled funds, false documents, forged signatures, money laundering through offshore accounts. Mom's face went ashen. 3 million? And that's just what they've found so far. I looked at Ethan. Want to tell her about the loan sharks? Or should I? Loan sharks? Mom's head snapped toward Ethan. You said it was just casino debt. They're going to kill me, Ethan whispered, sinking into a chair. I owe them 500,000 by the end of the month. The room fell silent. I could hear the old grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, the one Dad used to wind every Sunday morning. There's a way out, I finally said, but you both have to agree to my terms. Anything, Ethan said quickly. Too quickly. First, you're going to rehab, a real facility, minimum 6 months. I held up my hand when he tried to protest. Non-negotiable. Second, Mom signs over her power of attorney to me until all debts are settled. Never. Mom stood up so fast her chair toppled backward. Then, I walk away right now. The audit goes to the FBI, and Ethan faces federal charges. I stood up too. Your choice. You would send your own brother to prison? Mom's voice shook with rage. You would let your son die over your pride? I shot back. Because that's what those loan sharks will do if we don't fix this. Ethan started crying. Not the manipulative tears I'd seen so many times before, but real broken sobs. I'll do it. The rehab. Whatever you want. Just please help me. Mom stared at him for a long moment, then at the letter from Dad still lying on the table. Something in her seemed to break. What are your other terms? She asked quietly. You sell the house, downsize to something reasonable. All your assets go into a trust I'll manage. I pulled out the papers I'd had drawn up. You'll both receive living allowances, but no direct access to funds. You want to put us on an allowance? Like children? Mom's face flushed. No, like addicts, because that's what you both are. Ethan with gambling, you with enabling him. How dare you? Mom! Ethan interrupted. She's right. The silence that followed was heavy with decades of dysfunction. Mom picked up her chair and sat down heavily. The trust fund Dad set up, she finally said. How much? Enough to save Ethan's life and keep you comfortable, if you agree to my terms. I spread the documents in front of them. Sign now or I walk. Ethan grabbed a pen immediately. Mom stared at the papers for what felt like hours before slowly reaching for one. Your father would be ashamed of me, she whispered as she signed. No, I said, gathering the documents. Dad would be proud that we're finally fixing this, all of us. As I stood to leave, Ethan grabbed my hand. Why are you helping me, after everything? I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not the golden child who'd tormented my childhood, but a broken man who needed help. Because that's what family does, I said, the right way. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. Aunt Martina. How did it go? I looked back at the house, at Mom and Ethan still sitting in the dining room light, looking small and lost. They signed, I typed back. The real work begins tomorrow. You're doing the right thing, she responded. I wasn't so sure about that, but I was doing the necessary thing. Sometimes those have to be the same. The rehab facility looked more like a resort than a treatment center, but its success rates were among the highest in the country. I watched as Ethan dragged his feet toward the entrance, Mom hovering anxiously beside him. You can't come in with him, I reminded her. That's part of the program. But he needs to do this alone. I cut her off. That's the point. The intake counselor, Sarah, met us at the door. Mr. Ethan, we're ready for you. Ethan turned to Mom, his face pale. What if I can't do this? You can, I said before Mom could respond. Because you have to. As Sarah led him away, Mom collapsed onto a nearby bench, her designer handbag clutched to her chest like a shield. What do we do now? Now, we clean up your mess. I checked my phone. The realtor is meeting us at the house in an hour. You're really making me sell it? Her voice cracked. All my memories are just things, Mom. Things we're selling to keep your son alive. I helped her up. Unless you have another way to pay off those loan sharks. The drive home was silent. The realtor, Jessica, was already waiting when we arrived. Beautiful property, she said, scrolling through comparable listings on her tablet. In this market, we should be able to get around 2 million. Mom made a choking sound. But we paid 3 million 5 years ago. And you took out 2 mortgages since then, I reminded her, which we need to pay off. Jessica walked us through the house, pointing out updates needed to make it market ready. Mom flinched with each suggestion, each criticism of her perfect home. The master bathroom needs a complete remodel, Jessica noted, and these kitchen appliances are outdated. Those appliances cost $30,000, Mom protested. 5 years ago, Jessica said kindly. Tastes change. My phone buzzed. A text from the audit team. Found something else. Urgent. Start without me, I told Jessica. I need to take this. In the home office, Dad's old sanctuary, I dialed the auditor's number. We found irregularities in your mother's personal accounts, he said without preamble. Large transfers to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. My stomach dropped. How large? Close to 4 million over the past 3 years. I gripped the desk for support. Send me everything. Back in the kitchen, Mom was arguing with Jessica about the value of her imported marble countertops. I waited until Jessica stepped outside to take a call. Want to tell me about the Cayman Islands account? I asked quietly. Mom froze. How did you? The audit covered everything, Mom, not just Ethan's mess. I pulled up the transfer records on my phone. $4 million? Where did it even come from? She sank into a kitchen chair. Your father's life insurance policy. The one you said barely covered the funeral expenses? I was protecting myself, she burst out. I knew this day would come, when Ethan's problems would become too big. I needed a safety net. While you let him destroy himself? My voice rose. While you stole my inheritance to enable him? You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. I forwarded the records to my lawyer. The trust agreement you signed yesterday. It covers all your assets, including hidden ones. You can't. I can, and I will. I walked to the door and waved Jessica back in. Either you transfer that money back by tomorrow, or I add financial fraud to the list of things we're dealing with. You would send your own mother to prison? She tried to sound outraged, but fear crept into her voice. Ask yourself what Dad would do, I said. Better yet, read his letter again. Jessica rejoined us, oblivious to the tension. So, shall we discuss listing strategies? Yes, I said, watching Mom's carefully maintained facade crumble. And Mom's going to tell you about all the upgrades needed to make this place sellable. Aren't you, Mom? She nodded weakly, her hands shaking as she reached for her water glass. My phone buzzed again, this time from the rehab center, a photo of Ethan in his new room, looking terrified but determined. Below it, a message from his counselor. He's agreed to the full program, including family therapy. I showed Mom the photo. This is what matters now, not the house, not the money. Fixing our family. She stared at Ethan's image, tears finally breaking through her perfect makeup. I've made such a mess of everything. Yes, I agreed. But for the first time, you're going to help clean it up. Jessica cleared her throat awkwardly. Should I come back another time? No, Mom said, straightening her shoulders. Let's do this, all of it. For the first time since this started, I saw a glimpse of the mother I remembered from before Dad died, before money and status consumed her. Maybe there was hope for both of them after all. 3 months into Ethan's rehab, I sat across from him in the facility's visiting area. The change was striking. His eyes were clear, his hands steady, his designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a t-shirt. The loan sharks are taken care of, I said, pushing a folder across the table. All debts settled. He opened it cautiously. How? Mom's Cayman account covered most of it. The house sale will handle the rest. And Mom? He looked up. How's she doing in the apartment? I thought about our mother's new two-bedroom apartment, a far cry from her mansion, but still more than comfortable. She's adjusting. Aunt Martina visits her daily. She won't answer my calls, he said quietly. Part of your recovery is her recovery too. She needs to learn not to enable. A counselor approached our table. Ethan, your group session starts in 5 minutes. He nodded, then turned back to me. There's something else you need to know about Dad's company. My heart stopped. What about it? Mom didn't just take your inheritance. She and we sold Dad's shares right after he died. The room seemed to tilt. Dad's company, his life's work, had been sold years ago to a larger corporation. We'd been told the board had voted him out. You did what? Mom convinced me it was the right thing to do. Said Dad would have wanted the money used to secure my future. He couldn't meet my eyes. We forged your signature on the sale documents. My hands clenched into fists. How much? 12 million. The number hung in the air between us. $12 million. My birthright, stolen by my own family. That's why you're telling me now? I kept my voice steady. Because you know I'll find it in the audit? He nodded miserably. I'm trying to make amends. Step 9, you know? Where's the money now? Gone. Gambling, bad investments, Mom's shopping addiction. He stood up as the counselor returned. I'm sorry, Robin, for everything. I waited until he left before pulling out my phone and calling Luca. I need you to find something, I said when he answered. The sale documents for Dad's company, all of them. That was years ago. They forged my signature. Find them. An hour later, I sat in Mom's new apartment, watching her hands shake as she poured tea into delicate cups she'd saved from the house sale. $12 million, I said without preamble. Dad's company. The teacup clattered against its saucer. Ethan told you. Were you ever going to? What difference does it make now? She tried to sound dismissive, but fear crept into her voice. The money's gone. The difference, I pulled out my phone and played a recording, is that forgery and fraud have no statute of limitations in corporate sales. Mom's face went white as she heard her own voice from years ago, instructing Ethan how to copy my signature. Where did you get that? Ethan recorded everything back then. Insurance, he called it. I stopped the playback. He gave me all the recordings last week, part of his recovery program. You wouldn't, she whispered. Actually, I already did. I showed her the email I'd sent to my lawyer. The SEC will be investigating the sale, every document, every transaction, every forged signature. They'll put me in prison. Her teacup crashed to the floor. Maybe, or maybe we make a deal. I leaned forward. Sign over everything that's left, every account, every asset, everything you've hidden. In return, I'll tell them you cooperated fully. You're blackmailing your own mother? I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing, finally. She stared at the broken teacup, watching the dark liquid seep into her new carpet. Your father would be so disappointed in me. Dad's not here because you and Ethan couldn't wait to sell off his legacy. My phone buzzed. A message from Ethan's counselor. He's had a breakthrough, wants to make full restitution. Ethan's trying to change, I told Mom. Are you? She was quiet for a long moment, then walked to her desk and pulled out a thick envelope. These are all my accounts, everything I have left, even the ones you don't know about. I took the envelope, feeling its weight. Why now? Because I'm tired, she whispered. Tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of pretending we're still the family we used to be. As I stood to leave, she grabbed my hand. Will you ever forgive me? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not the manipulative woman who'd orchestrated so much pain, but a broken mother who'd lost her way. That depends, I said, on what you do next. Outside, the sun was setting over the city. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Martina. Your father would be proud of you today. I wasn't so sure about that, but for the first time in years, I was proud of myself. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the small cafe where I sat with Ethan, watching people hurry past on their way to work. His 6 months in rehab had ended yesterday, and this was our first real conversation as equals. The SEC investigation is complete, I said, sliding a document across the table. They're not pressing charges. Ethan's shoulders sagged with relief. And Mom? She cooperated fully, returned everything she could. I stirred my coffee. The restitution payments will take years, but at least we're on the right path. I found a job, he said quietly. Nothing fancy, just bookkeeping at a small firm. They know about my past. Honest work, I nodded. Dad would like that. I've been thinking about him a lot. Ethan pulled something from his pocket, Dad's old pocket watch. Found this when I was helping Mom move. Remember how he used to let us wind it on Sundays? You first, then me, I smiled. He said it taught us patience. The watch ticked steadily between us, marking time in the same way it had during Sunday breakfasts and family meetings, before everything went wrong. I met with the board of Dad's old company yesterday, I said, showed them the evidence of fraud in the sale. Ethan's hand trembled as he reached for his water. And they're restructuring, offering to sell back 30% of the shares at current market value. I pulled out another document. Using what's left of Mom's Cayman account and Dad's trust fund, we can buy back in. We? The shares would be split. You, me, and a trust for Mom's care. I watched his reaction carefully. But you'd have no direct control. Not yet. He nodded, understanding the conditions. I wouldn't trust me either. It's not about trust anymore. It's about earning things back. The right way. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. Apartment is ready for the therapy session. Please come. Family therapy starts today, I told Ethan. You ready? No, he admitted, but I'm going anyway. Mom's apartment had changed since my last visit. Gone were the expensive artworks and antiques, replaced by simple, comfortable furniture. She'd even hung Dad's old family photos, the real ones, not the staged portraits she used to prefer. I made coffee, she said as we entered. Real coffee, not that imported stuff I used to insist on. The therapist, Dr. Marshall, arrived right on time. We sat in a circle, the pocket watch ticking on the coffee table between us. Let's talk about moving forward, Dr. Marshall began, about rebuilding trust. I have something to say first, Mom interrupted. She pulled out an envelope. This is my last secret, the insurance policy I took out on the house before we sold it. I want you to have it, Robin. It's not much, but it's a start. I took the envelope but didn't open it. This isn't about money anymore. I know, she whispered. It's about saying I'm sorry, really sorry. And you, Ethan? Dr. Marshall prompted. I'm sorry for more than I can ever say. He picked up the pocket watch. But mostly, I'm sorry I forgot who we were supposed to be, who Dad raised us to be. The watch ticked steadily, filling the silence. The board meeting is tomorrow, I said finally, to finalize the share purchase. You can both come if you want. Really? Mom's eyes filled with tears. As observers only, I clarified. But yes, it's time we faced things together. Dr. Marshall smiled. That's a significant step. How does it feel? Terrifying, Ethan admitted. Right, Mom added. Necessary, I said. After the session, we stood in Mom's small kitchen, drinking coffee from ordinary mugs instead of her old bone china. Dad's office, Ethan said suddenly. In the new company setup. Who gets it? Nobody, I replied. We're turning it into a conference room, named after him. Mom touched the pocket watch, now sitting on the counter. He would like that. No pedestals, no shrines, just work and family. Speaking of work, Ethan set down his mug. I should go. First day at the new job tomorrow. As he headed for the door, I called after him, Take the watch. He turned back, surprised. But you should have it. You need it more right now, I said, to remember who you're becoming. After he left, Mom touched my arm. Are we going to be okay? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone trying to change, someone who finally understood the difference between enabling and loving. We're going to be different, I said, and that's a start. Outside, the autumn wind scattered leaves across the sidewalk. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Martina. Dinner tonight? Yes, I replied, and bring the old photo albums. It's time to remember who we were, to become who we should be. Sometimes the hardest part of revenge isn't executing it, it's knowing when to let it go.